Well, Don was supposed to be, he's one of our mainstays and he's not here, so we're trying to pinch hit a little bit, and we're pinch hitting for Marty also. And we had a few questions sent in advance, and these are the questions that are in advance. And then, as is the custom, we'll take all questions from the audience and answer as much as we can. Audience participation is greatly encouraged. Any questions right now?
Yes.
In MacBook Pro, under iMessage, when you're typing a message to somebody, why do you get the circle, color circle going around? It's like it's thinking you're typing head and it's...
Okay.
Next question. We'll answer at the end. Yes.
I have taken my pictures and put them on a separate drive because my new MacBook Pro doesn't have enough memory. When I download new pictures to that, how can I be sure to go to the drive rather than pictures?
Anybody else? Yes.
On the Naples website, NMUG, by the way, my name is John, NMUG, is there, running that software, is there a directory or anywhere I can get information on how to access that and manipulate that website?
I can answer that. You'll have to talk to Marty.
I guess that was the answer. Well, I've actually,
I mean, I don't think we're prepared to answer that in this room.
okay.
Unless Jerry knows the answer. Yeah, that's a Marty
The
question.
reason I ask actually because I'm struggling with it.
Yeah, he's the new, one of the new webmasters. And Marty is trying, now that he's not on the board, to delegate to these two gentlemen right here. And so that's really a Marty question.
Yeah, okay.
How to get into the back of the website.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
I don't understand completely Apple Music, and I'm not even sure I can ask the question correctly, but on my desktop, I have turned on music. I have not turned it on my iPad and iPhone, and I noticed the disparity in what I have in music on those different devices.
How to sync Apple Music?
Well, I didn't want to sync until, my question is this. With Apple Music, it pulls the files off and they're in Apple World.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when I quit music? Do I have my music back? How do I get it if it's, you know, do they have me trapped now?
All right, we'll answer that. That will come up.
Okay.
We have to figure out, Marty, usually running under whoever runs the meeting, we try not to answer any of the questions, but make you think we did. And so we're really going to try to answer all the questions today.
Linda.
Yeah, Linda, I started asking the same old question as always. I finally got my taxes done and everything else, so it's all set to upgrade to Mojave. I'm still running High Sierra 10.13.6 and Safari 11.1.2 on the MacBook Pro I got November 2014. But then after I saw Mitch's email on the 27th about some Mac Mojave users are having problems with their Gmail and G Suite authentication. Now, I use Earthlink Pop Mail, but once again, I'm concerned. Every time I've tried to update my other smaller apps, when it tells me it needs it, it's crashed and burned, and I've had to reinstall High Sierra. I sent 3
I know.
things to Don, but he, and he said he was going to forward them, but I
One
guess.
of the parting answers to your question from Marty is he really recommends that you do not update the Mojave.
That's my
Okay.
recommendation also.
Is there any one place where it can tell you what the problems are with Mojave?
5-year-old computer is my,
You said buy a new computer?
or leave it as it is.
I'll
Interesting.
state another,
Yeah.
yeah, on the old computers, yes, that's true. But if you have any of the current generation, I think Mojave is a real advance. But you have to have a computer that will handle it. And there are certain features in Mojave that I really like, such as the dark mode. You see white text against the dark background, which is much easier on the eyes. And Mojave has some nice features that are worth getting if you have a computer that will handle it. Then the other thing, of course, is that Apple is switching to 64 bits. So all of the applications will have to be 64-bit applications in another, I don't know, year or two, perhaps. It's a slow process because I get messages periodically saying your computer has, not so much your computer, but your application has to be updated. And every application that's on that computer is going to have to be updated before too long. And that will be to Mojave. So Mojave's inevitable. You can't get around it. Yeah.
Question on that subject, on the Mojave. My MacBook Pro is 4 years old this month. Is that too old for the Mojave update?
That's borderline, I think.
My computer's 4 years old, MacBook Pro, and I couldn't get Mojave on it. I tried.
I have it on it, but I'm having some problems that I never had on High Sierra.
Maybe we better say 4 years rather than 5. Yeah.
I have sent out on a number of occasions to the group, to the discussion group, a list of the dates and everything as far as what computers can be updated and which ones can't. So if you Google it, you'll come up with the answer on that. Now, if you bought a computer in 2010, but it happened to be a 2008, because you have to go back and look about your Mac and see what year it really is. Because, I mean, a lot of the Macs that are being sold out there today by B&H and Best Buy and so forth, some of the really good prices are being offered on computers that are 1 and 2 years old.
I might have the answer to the Gmail question. I have 2 Gmail accounts. One is my personal account, and one is the club Gmail account. And after I updated to Mojave, I had a problem with my password on the club account, which is under a different kind of Gmail category than the personal account. But I didn't realize, anyway, it took me a while to figure out how to fix it. But basically, I had to put a new password in, and then they didn't like the old password. Anyway, long story short, I finally got a password in there. Yesterday, I updated the latest update to Mojave, and that's in system preferences under the little gear thing. And it updated just fine. I didn't have any problems. Guess what? That same account lost its password. So I just went into my accounts and I re-entered the password, and now it's working fine. So I think it depends upon what kind of account you have and correcting the password. I got all kinds of nasty messages from Google the first time and all kinds of stuff, and they didn't like any of the new passwords I put in and so forth. But eventually, they took one of my passwords, and then when I went in yesterday to correct the Google complaining again, I put in the new password that I had the first time, and they took it, and it's working. And I just checked on my iPad, and it's working there now too. It might be just an issue of what kind of Gmail account you have. Because for my personal account, there was no problem.
Now that you mention it, Marilyn, I did have a Mojave problem. I forgot about it because I've been using Mojave for over a year now, seamlessly now. But at the time I made the switch, I just used Migration Assistant, which is very simple to use. You just click and let it go. Well, it turns out that for security reasons, I suppose, none of my passwords were transferred to the keychain passwords. None of my keychain passwords were transferred, and none of my Safari passwords were transferred. So I had a password deficit, and I had to call Apple about it, and they did it. They did it through iCloud. So my passwords were funneled to iCloud and back to allow me to use them in Mojave. And that was over a year ago, so they might have simplified that. But at the time, it was a nuisance, and at the time, I really wasn't using iCloud. I hate to admit it, of course, but I did have that problem transferring to Mojave. But it was feasible, and I did it, so I was happy. And let me state another problem I had was occasionally the computer would do something just plain irrational. I'd click on an app, on a function that I used, and it would do something else, or my preferences were wrong. I often found that preferences get lost in an upgrade. I don't know why it is, but I lose preferences, and I have to re-enter my preferences. And it's sort of a nuisance, but something that Apple, you have to live with. One thing I've done, I did this just a couple of days ago again, is that I think that what's the word? Corrupted files creep into our computers. And one way of eliminating that is to reinstall the operating system. And I found it's really quite simple. And you had asked about that several months ago, George. And I've done it a couple of times now. And it really takes about half an hour. And the way to do it is that at startup, you hold down Command R as the machine is starting up. And then it will put you into a recovery mode. And you'll have as one of your options on the recovery mode to reinstall operating system. And you just click reinstall operating system and a couple of more clicks. And that's exactly what it's doing. It's reinstalling it. You should make sure that you have a good internet connection before you start. And just out of superstition, I do these things when the internet load is light, Saturdays or Sundays or evenings, rather than during the day. And I do have a good internet connection. But I found that reinstalling Mojave periodically will eliminate some of the strange gremlins that appear in a computer. And so my suggestion is to do it, it's not that difficult really, but it sounds intimidating, but it's no more intimidating than installing an upgrade.
May I add, make sure you have a backup of your computer before you
Amen.
start. Right.
And which brings up another point again. Thank you, Jerry. I follow Jerry's advice. I use belt and suspenders. I use Time Machine and I use Super Duper. And I even go one step further. I have 2 hard drives on Super Duper and I open 8 hard drives. So that even if there's something wrong with one Super Duper drive, I have another one to do. So in effect, I'm triple covered. And another thing to do is at startup, hold down the Option key at startup, and it will, when you do that, it will display all the things that you can start up. It will display each Super Duper machine that you have. It will display Boot Camp if you're using Windows Boot Camp. And I found that I like to periodically check Super Duper to make sure it's working the way it should. And what you can do is start up with Super Duper and make sure that Super Duper really is working. And Super Duper will give you, it'll behave just like a normal operating system. The only difference is that it will be very slow. Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me interrupting. How do you start up with your Super Duper backup?
When you shut down the computer, hold the Option key down, and you will see after a minute or two every possible device that has a boot up drive. And usually you pick Mac HD or something that's very standard. But all the other options for a startup drive are also listed. So you just highlight that startup drive and click on it and go. And that startup drive will be what you use. And I found it useful to really be sure that Super Duper is working like I think it is. And Super Duper is not correct, which can occur. But then when you see that Super Duper is working just by browsing, that's sufficient. Because if you start actually using it for your workhorse stuff, you will mess up the backup. So just see that Super Duper is working, and you're done. You agree, Jerry?
I agree.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Anything about the phone? Mary?
I just wanted to let John know that I have a password that he needs to get into NMUG, but I don't have it with me. So I can give you my card, and if you want to give me your email, I'll send it to you. Marty gave it to me, and it's what I used to get in.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything? Okay, so we're going to answer the circle when you're typing messages. Are you in a very strong Wi-Fi? It happens every time? Doesn't matter where you are? I don't know. Anybody in the audience?
It may be, I don't know what the computer is going through, the message files
Yeah.
that I have.
Is it on the computer or the phone?
Only on the computer. And it's a new computer.
But it does, the message does get sent, it just
Well, I'm
takes a
typing,
while. Oh, when you're typing. So sorry.
and it doesn't do it every
Just like you type along and then all of a sudden the wording,
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know the answer, but I would hazard a guess that it is buffering to the cloud because the cloud is
Right.
and there must be some issue with the buffer.
So it's buffering to the cloud was the answer. Use your phone.
Well, no, I'm sure you've turned the computer on and off and
Oh, yeah.
gone through all that motion. I mean, are you starting to get the red circle in a lot of different cases when you're working on your computer?
no, mainly in my message.
You might want to look.
I can use the iPad at the same time, or not at the same time, but right beside it. And type a message, I don't get that, probably get it on me.
You might want to give Apple a call. Apple Care.
Okay, does anyone know how to get new pictures to the external drive instead of the computer? My guess would be when you download the pictures, you click on the external drive, which is in your Finder.
Yeah, but I
Try
think most,
that.
since everything's sharing everything, if I take a picture here, it's gonna go there automatically, but is it gonna go on the new drive or is it gonna go into pictures?
I would say pictures.
Then I have to move it over.
Anybody else have an answer? Okay, where does my Apple Music go when I shut off the app? We're batting 0 up here. Anybody who
Well,
uses
let's go back to
Oh,
this question again.
external drive? Okay.
How are you bringing the pictures into your computer?
Just when I take another picture, it's being shared, everything syncs up through
Oh.
cloud, I guess. And it should be on, it goes on, if I take a picture of my phone, it goes on my iPad, not my computer.
So it's all being done through the cloud?
Right.
And are you checking it periodically? to see
No, I
if it's
haven't,
happening?
that's just, since we decided to ask questions, I just did this recently when I bought the new computer. And I Marty to get it over to the, move all my pictures over to the drive, but now I don't have any pictures, but every one goes to the drive.
Well, no, just check them periodically and see if they're going. If you know, like a couple days or 3 or 4 days, just double check the pictures you took that day are on all of your.
Well, I know some of them have gone to pictures, and I've manually moved them over, and it's just kind of weird the way it's done. I have a whole group of pictures here, and then the one that I moved over, and then the one that I moved over. It's strange the way it's done.
Sometimes it takes a little while.
Okay.
In other words, it doesn't happen. Sometimes boom, 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 boom.
All right, I'll try that.
Just keep an eye on it. And if then there's a problem, we can try to figure that one out.
Does anybody use Apple Music? Nobody?
I don't use it, but I'm not clear on what your problem is, Bill. My name is Jim.
Yeah.
Apple Music is a streaming service.
Well,
Streaming
there's
music
another,
service.
there's 2 levels of Apple service in iTunes. One is Apple Music, and that's, maybe I misstated. It's just the one that, it's not a streaming service.
Okay, are you buying music from the iTunes store? Are you buying like albums or individual
Sometimes, yes.
pieces of music? Well, if you cancel Apple Music, the streaming service, it shouldn't affect anything that you bought. When you buy something to the iTunes store, you have it in perpetuity, movies or music.
All right, then what
Even if you lose it on your computer, you can retrieve it.
all right, then what if I have downloaded old CDs that I have
Okay?
onto the systems?
Yes.
And it's all now back and forth with Apple.
Not really, it's on your
Well,
computer.
it sounds like he has Mac.
It's iTunes Match.
Match, that's what I want.
Oh, well, that's a different situation.
Thank you, yeah.
You have Match?
No, I do not have that.
You have Match?
It's $25 a year, right? And what iTunes will do is they will give you the highest fidelity version of that, even if you did not get the music from them to begin with, when
Okay.
you subscribe to Apple Match.
But when I give up Match, do I automatically have all my music back on my devices?
My answer is, I don't know. I think so. I think once you get it, it stays on your computer in your backup system, like if it's Time Machine or I brought a blank.
Super duper.
Super duper. I know that my iTunes are all on an external hard drive, and I'm assuming that if at some point I got a 256 bits per second version of a song, and it's saved on my external hard drive, I don't see how Apple can delete it.
Now, my understanding of Match is that basically what Apple is keeping is like an index of all of the music that you have. Even if it was your high school choir singing God Bless America, it goes up there and they save it for you. But the big advantage is that when you've got things in Match, you have it on your computer, because it's up in the cloud there, you also have access to it on your iPad or your iPhone, which if you discontinue Match, you would lose that access, but you would still have it on your computer.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Wayne?
If I could follow up on that, and that is that it's best to back up that on an outside drive. Because Apple may lose the rights to some of that music, even though you bought it. They, in their details, they say, this may not last forever. And they might not have the rights for that. They only might have it for 7 years or something like that. And then they renegotiate. And they might lose it. So it's always best to back it up.
Wayne, by the way, Wayne sent to me a very important email this week, I thought it was, and I sent it out to the group. What was that on again?
That was on the iPhone, tracks you all the time. Always tracks you. And if you didn't, so wherever you go, it'll follow you. And it will record the information here. And if you wanted to stop that, that was recently revealed in the new Apple News app. And it showed you, it's a pretty lengthy process of how to get out of location services for the phone. On the other hand, there's another, if I could just throw in something called Taxford. And I recently became a Floridian. And it follows how many days I'm in New York State, and how many days I'm in Florida, and how many days I'm in other states. And that I have to leave that location services on in order for that to work. And it gives me reports.
What's the name of that app?
Taxbird.
Taxbird.
Taxbird, one word. $20 a year.
Well, it's actually, without that app, it would be tracking it too, would it not?
Oh, yes, right. So, but I have to leave location services on in order to, for that to function.
Yeah.
So I gotta leave it on.
But it's really interesting, if you haven't looked at the email, look at it, and then take your phone out and go through all the steps. I mean, you don't have to make a decision to turn anything on or off, but it's interesting what is there and what you have to go through to turn it off.
My friend in New York State, that's what they asked him for when he contested an audit about his location. And they said, give me your phone.
Oh.
Yeah, they use that.
You know, I had a problem years ago with the state of New York, and if I had had the phone 25, 30 years ago, because the attorney I got said, don't even waste your energy, they're going to win no matter if you're right or wrong. Go ahead.
Okay, Marty had sent me some things he was going to cover, called Things I See People Do and Wonder Why. Okay. So I'm going to put my phone up on the screen. Hopefully, if this works. Okay, the first one is, how many people have it set so if someone steals your phone and they try to get in 10 times, it'll erase? Okay, here's how you do that. You go to settings, can you see?
No.
Is it showing now?
No.
It was there.
Oh, okay.
Get that
Okay, so you go to settings, Face ID and password. And you scroll down to erase data. So it's all the way down, right there. And it should be green. So that means if someone steals your phone and they try to get in after 10 times, and even if you forget your password, your phone is erased. Okay? The next one he wants to talk about, iCloud backup should be turned on. So go to settings again, and at the top, if you have the iOS 12, your name. Okay. Scroll down to iCloud. If you don't have 12, you find iCloud in another place, which I don't know where. Offhand. iCloud. Scroll down to iCloud backup and make sure it's on. So when you plug it in every night and you're on Wi-Fi, it'll back it up. So everybody should have that. And it tells you, but my last backup was at 11:30 p.m. last night.
Sorry, I'm slow.
Okay, so you go to iCloud, then go to iCloud backup.
Can't find iCloud.
Well, does it look like this? Do you have the new version?
Yeah.
It's your name under settings. At the very top under settings is your name.
Yeah.
Okay, click your name.
Well, click my name.
Yeah, I mean touch it. I say click, touch.
I got it.
Okay.
iCloud, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How many people know they have Find Your iPhone turned on? Hopefully they do. Okay. Settings again, your name, which is iCloud. Scroll down to Find My iPhone, which is right, see it, the second one up above from iCloud Backup, and you make sure it's on. And then when you click on, there's two more things in there that should be green. Send last location. So that means if your battery dies, which it will happen if it's in the lounge chair, right, overnight, you can't find your phone, if that's on, the phone will still beep, and you can find it. Okay. Okay, everybody understand that one? He wants to talk about the health app, which is the thing with the heart on the second row down, the red heart. You should, and over to the right on the bottom, medical ID. That is where you should have all, if you have a health problem, you should have your emergency contacts in there. And you can be an organ donor. And what happened to me once, I was riding my bike with this in the bike bag, and I went over a bump. And I heard a siren, but I didn't know what it was. It was this phone calling 911, because I went over a bump. And right away, I had my kids in here. Immediately, my kids called me and said, "Are you okay?" Okay? And then when I got home, the 911 operator called, which I thought was pretty impressive. So you should have that, yeah.
Not knowing where you are, where's the red heart?
Okay, the red heart, I have, it could be in a folder. I mean, I moved it out, so you kind of have to look through all your apps.
You search, use a search.
Yeah, search, scroll down, find it, and type health. Does everybody find that? And I think
Is it something that came on the phone or?
came on the phone, and I don't know what version it came on. I know it's on the 12.
It's a white box with a red heart.
Did you find it?
I don't know.
Did you
We can
find
help
it?
you after. You might not have it unless it's hidden somewhere. Okay, another thing that's kind of cool is the widget screen. So if you have 12.1, you scroll to the right, and those are all the widgets that I have. So the first one is the app suggestions. Those are the ones I have recently used.
How did you get there again?
Scroll to the right. Go to your home page and scroll to the right. Yeah. So you should see this widget page. Everybody get that? Mine's going to look different. I'm going to show you how to add things. So you go to the bottom of the widgets, and it says edit. You can't see the word edit because the reflector thing is covering it. Okay, at the very bottom, it says edit. Hopefully you can see it. And right now, it's under the Google traffic. So if you go into edit, you have all of these choices. And you just, where the green plus is, you just touch it and it'll show up above. So the batteries is interesting because if you have the ear pods and they're on and synced, it'll show you the battery, how, if you need to charge them. I didn't bring mine today. Okay, news is the Apple News. What else? Find friends, which everybody should have to find their significant other when they don't know where they are. I just put Google Maps in there, so if there's a traffic jam on the way here, I'll find out about it. Mail you could have in there. Naples News. Also, if you have the Naples e-edition, it will send you alerts on the traffic. So that would be in there. Photos, I mean, any one of these you could have.
Marsha,
Yeah.
can you go back up to the battery?
Yeah. I'm gonna go, and then you hit done up in the bottom, right here.
Right there.
Yeah, battery.
Go on that wire right there.
Go back to the other screen.
Go on the widgets.
Okay, hold on. Edit. Okay.
And then, when you turn that on, it shows battery life. Can you turn that on?
It's on.
Okay, how do you show battery life?
Well, then in the widget itself, it shows my battery. My iPhone is 80%.
Okay.
If I had my ear pods and I was on the same network, it would show that too. It's not showing my iPad, and I don't know why. You got that? And the weather, there's the weather channel, and then there's Yahoo Weather. So that's kind of a fun thing to play with. What else? Well, yeah. Screen time is the new thing in iOS 12, and I won't even talk about that, but that shows you how long you've been on your screen, how many times you picked up your phone. If you have all devices picked, like if you're on iCloud, I mean, you have everything connected to iCloud, that'll even show you your computer and your iPad and your watch. I do not have that.
Where do you set that?
Where do you set it? You just, it'll show up in the widgets if you touch screen time.
Okay.
Excuse me, please.
Yes.
Widget, is that a downloadable app on the phone or it comes on the phone?
Screen time comes with the new 12.1 iOS.
I thought I just deleted it, but it didn't.
Well, you could delete it out of your widgets. It doesn't
I
mean
thought
you-
I did, because I went down to edit,
Yeah.
and it has a minus
Yeah.
next to it.
Well, then you might have to like swipe up or down a couple times.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So all these things, so apparently I just got Google Maps, and I was using Waze, but now under Google Maps, under all these widgets, I have all these Google things going on, yes. Deborah.
I apologize, that roll's a little slow today. I don't know what widgets are, and I don't know how you start it. I was on this whole conversation, I don't know what it is, and I don't know how you start it.
Do you think you have 12.1?
I have the new iPad S Max, got it at Christmas, so should be
The phone or the iPad?
phone,
Okay, so you go to your home screen,
right,
and then swipe to the right.
to the right.
Yeah. And there's a whole list of things. And those are all, do you see those?
Which is fine.
Those are widgets. You see them? And you go down to the bottom, it says edit.
Green even when I
I have 5 pages on my homepage.
Go, you have,
Nothing's on it.
you have to be in the home page
Swipes on right.
and then swipe right. Got it? Well, we'll help you after.
That's okay.
Okay. All right. Does everybody get that? Play with it. The other cool thing in iOS 12 are in messages, they're going to show you pictures of people. So let's see, here's my pharmacy. Okay, so there's my granddaughter. Oh, that's not good. That was when she was bullying me. Okay. You can get pictures of people in messages and in contacts, and I'm going to show you how to do it in contacts. I know, just most people have the pictures of their people that call them your significant other. Some you do, some you don't. Okay, now I'm going to add George. Okay, so I'm on the home. My contacts are on my home screen. They might not be on yours. I'm going to click contacts, and there's George. Okay, so I go edit. And then to the left of his name, it says add photo. So if you want to do this with somebody, you either take their photo at that time, or if their photo's already in the photos, then you click choose. And there's George, right there. Yes, and you can move it around. So let's say you had a group picture and you just wanted one person out of that group. You can move it around and get the actual person. And then you hit choose. So now, if George ever calls me, I guess you don't have my cell phone, but when that person calls you, that picture shows up. So that is like a fun thing to do, especially if you have somebody's picture.
Are you also going to tell about if you want to put addresses in there?
Oh, okay.
Okay, because what I discovered was the fact I can push on the address.
Yep.
And it'll tell me how to get to that person's house
Okay.
and everything.
You would click the address.
Or the doctor's office.
Yep, and then Google Maps will show you.
Yes.
So you just, if you want to add an address or anything, you just hit plus, and you type all the information in. And one more thing on this birthday. Add, George, when is your birthday? You don't need to tell me the year, just tell me the day.
I'm making up for
6/48/1898.
Wait, what?
6/28, June 28th.
June 28th. Okay. If you put the person's birthday in this way, that is going to show up on your calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and it's going to show up with a little, I'm going to do a birthday, like a package. So now I can send George a card. There, see the red little package?
All day.
All day.
It's all day.
And if he actually told me the year, it would tell me how old he is.
April 3rd on yours.
Okay?
Sends you a reminder.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't really send you a reminder. To do the it's a different way to get a
Well, I'm
reminder.
getting it on my laptop. Usually it's the day before their
Yeah.
birthday and I forgot it.
But let me show you, if you want a reminder, you add it a different way, and in the calendar app, it tells you how many days in advance you'll get an email. Okay. Something new in iOS 12, I just found out about this. I do tabs a lot, so I'm going to Safari. I click that, and it shows you, it's not doing here, the little icon next to each page. So Facebook doesn't do it though, Google News. It does it more on, let me go to my iPad. I'll show you on the iPad. So I have to stop. And that's helpful if you use tabs because you can't really tell what's what. Okay. So I'm going to the iPad. go to Safari, I like to have tabs open. Does everybody use tabs when they're searching? No? You just, okay, so in your settings in Safari, you can tell it to open a new window in a tab. So I've got all these tabs across the top. And now I have icons next to them. Because you can have like unlimited number of tabs, to the point where you can't see what the name of the tab is. So I've got, this happens to be the International Space Station. Let's see if I can get it to show up. And it's got the little NASA thing next to it. So that's the space, there's a camera on the space station. And Google News is the one all the way to the left, so now there's a little icon for that. So anytime you open a tab, okay, so if you don't use tabs, you just go one page at a time searching? Is that how people do it?
Use tabs.
Use tabs. But to get a new tab, the plus in the upper right-hand corner, you hit plus, and it shows all your favorites. So there's Naples Mug. Let's see if they have an icon. So that came in. No icon. So you just switch, you just touch the tab. And if you have a lot of things that you use all the time, it's very helpful to switch between tabs.
Can you eliminate the one you don't want?
Yes, to eliminate, you touch on it, and there's a little X. See the X on my Naples Mug tab? In the left, up, right next to the word Naples, because I just touched it, so that made it active. Versus, the other ones are gray, and this one's kind of white. You see that? And then you touch the X. On the phone, it's going to look different. And then to see all the tabs that you have open, the upper right-hand corner looks like 2 pages. That's another way of seeing how many you have open. So you can, yeah.
Can you close them in there?
You can close them in here, yep. But in the phone, you also have the 2 little pages down at the bottom right.
Yeah, I never knew about that.
And you
Marcia,
touch that.
on the phone, you don't have a tab bar,
I know.
but if you go back to the,
Phone?
no, just go back to the page. The double box on the top, that will take you to the tabs that are folded one on top of the other.
On the phone.
Yeah, both. So go ahead and touch the one on the top there. No, okay, is it showing differently on there?
Yeah.
Okay, on the phone, it was what you showed before, how they were stacked up
They're
one
stacked
behind the
up.
other.
Yeah.
Right,
one on
so
top.
that on the phone, if you want to see what your open tabs are, tap that double box, and that will show you all your tabs. And then if you touch them, it'll take you to that tab. If you want, the easy way to get rid of all of them is to touch the double bar and just hold your finger down, and it will clear, it'll say, do you want to clear all your tabs, and it'll do that.
Yeah.
You take one out though?
Yep.
You just hit the X to take one out.
So it's a pretty
Yeah.
hard.
I'm going to go back to the phone for a second.
Oh, there.
If you
Here, you see the double box?
I wanted to show people,
Here's all your tabs. Okay, if you want to get rid of,
how many people use voice memos?
you want to get rid of all.
You know what a voice memo is?
You just
2 people, okay. This is very helpful, and it looks like it's on the left side of my screen, about the 4th one down. This is very helpful when you go to the doctor's office. Unfortunately, we all have to end up at the doctor's office. You record the entire visit. Okay, so you touch on voice memo, and you can't see this because of this reflector thing. At the bottom of your screen, did everybody find voice memo? There's a red dot, you know, the record button.
Don't see that, sorry.
Do you have voice memos?
Is it supposed to have the latest
Well,
version?
you have to, if you've never used voice menus, you have to continue. Let me see your screen.
It's the latest.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, but you might have to search for voice memos. It might be in a folder. And if you've never used it, it's going to say continue.
Voice memo.
You can record the whole
Is
session.
it built into the system, or do you have to get on app?
Sounds like iTunes.
It's, what did you ask me?
Does it come with the phone?
Yes,
So it's already there?
it comes with the phone. You may have to search for it.
Excuse me, Andrew, how again do you, I know you told us before, but how do you search for that app?
If you want to search, you scroll down, you touch your phone and you go down and see where it says search.
Yes.
So you're going to search for voice.
Yes.
Okay, and it's got the red and the white.
Mine gives me an iTunes link.
Then you might not have voice memo.
Because I just upgraded last night.
Oh,
I am going to settings and,
When I search for voice memo.
turn on show app,
turn it on what?
show app.
Oh,
That's in the 10?
Go to settings, voice memo,
okay.
It's in
and
utility.
then search.
And you have 12? 12.1?
Drop.
Sends me to the App Store.
Mine's
Yeah,
in
well, that's what mine
Yeah,
did.
I've got the latest. That's great, too.
Yes.
Marcia, you have to be careful if you go into a doctor's office
I got this.
and you tell him you're recording something.
You don't have to tell them. Well, you could be nice and ask. But
Well,
I've
I do
never,
a lot of consulting over the phone, and people say to me, you know, this is being recorded, do you mind? And I think you're obliged to tell them you're recording it.
Yeah.
More.
you think?
On the phone. Yeah, but not in person.
What I read, as long as one person knows.
I don't know
you're
anyone's
one
knows.
person. That's it.
I mean-
That's, I think I read.
It's your doctor and you're paying, I don't know. I mean, you could tell them and they usually say fine.
I think we're mixing two situations. One is a telephone situation
Yeah.
where you must tell,
Yeah.
and the other situation is this, which I don't know.
I've never had anybody,
I found the voice memo in my utilities folder.
okay,
Where I found
that's what I'm saying. If you just got the new 12, they put things in folders and then you can't find them.
So the utilities.
I have a comment, and that
Yes.
is, my friend just went to the doctor, she wanted to record for her daughter what the doctor was saying, and he said it is not allowed. And so he is making another appointment, so she can listen in on the conversation, but he would not allow it to be recorded. So I think it can be an issue.
Okay.
Sounds like an insurance thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Or a voice.
Yes.
But it also could be that she doesn't have, her kids don't have permission to
Right.
listen or get into the medical records, and if there was I can see my mom's medical records, there would be a legal reason family-wise that you could record, but then again, the doctor could say for a different reason, and you'd have to.
No, mine was in the folder.
Yeah, it might not be on the list of contacts.
Well, that's interesting. I've actually, I probably shouldn't even say this, I had it in my purse and I just hit record and it was fine.
You're kind of sneaky.
I'm kind of No, I was the one that listened to it. You know, you can either sit there and write everything down or you can listen.
How long will that go?
Pretty long, yeah, at least 30 minutes. So somebody could be recording us today, George, on there.
I did.
Yeah, you have permission to record me.
Thank you. Okay. Any other, those were the fun things that I like to play with. And anybody have any questions? Yeah.
There were two items on the screen when you came in.
questions about the Mac. One has to do with magnifying and zooming, and the other one has to do with the round ball that occurs in the middle of the text. All of a sudden, it's a colored ball that revolves to keep you from typing. Did you answer that?
She answered the phone. Yes. All right, we have, all right.
Those were Tom's questions.
Those were questions that came. Do you have the email with the answers? All right. Should I take this off?
Tom, did those answers work for you?
No.
That was-
I only did the first two, and they didn't work. And it's interesting, on the first one, Marty worked on this for me about 2 or 3 months ago, and he came back and he said, I don't think you can do it. So the key word is a single file. Now, you had a good idea. You said just move the file into a folder. That's not, might change it, I don't know, but he told me you couldn't do it. You got to do the whole drive or the whole machine.
No. No, you can,
Let's
put
say
a
you had,
password on a folder, and it's just exactly the way, because I went back, and what I did is I Googled every question.
yeah,
And I copied and pasted the answer, but then last night at about 11:30, I jumped out of bed and I said, I gotta make sure this stuff works. My wife says, where are you going? I said, I gotta make sure all this information I sent out, I wanna make sure it works. I went through every one of those and it worked.
I couldn't follow the link on my MacBook Pro, but I'll try it again.
But, yeah, and if not, I can walk you through it after, you know.
Okay, but he did say you can't take an individual file, but maybe that's
A
changed.
folder. Jerry,
The birth part, you have to have a folder, you put the file in the folder, and then you encrypt.
Yeah,
You can encrypt the folder.
that's what I got out of George's comment. I didn't try that yet.
try that. You need the folder.
The purpose of this would be, let's say you had all your financial stuff in one file. I don't know if you would, but let's suppose a person did. You could encrypt that one file and not worry about the stuff on the rest of the machine.
Right.
Yeah, but you can put that one file inside a folder, and that
Right,
folder.
okay, I haven't tried that. I'll try that.
Yeah, if you have all these pictures on your computer of your girlfriend, and you don't want your wife to see it.
I hadn't thought of that.
Or your boyfriend. Or boyfriend.
Or boyfriends.
But how do you actually encrypt that single folder?
Yes.
How do you encrypt it and
Command shift,
it's just a,
command shift, and.
okay, I'm sorry.
Here's a
See
new
that.
folder.
Yeah. What I'll do is when I go home, I'll send that information out there.
Yeah.
Okay. But, by the way, the way that because I wanted to try to react to his questions as quickly as possible. And, all I did was add on to his question, the Mac, or with a Mac. And so they knew that I just wanted, when I Googled, and then I Googled it. Do you know how to Google it? You highlight it, and then you right click, and it gives you an option to, I think that's what I did. Anyway, the answers came right up. And it's really easy to get an answer to anything. But I wanted to make sure they worked. And I did try every one of them, and they did all work. And if you can't get them to work down, we'll work on it.
All right.
And I'll send all that information.
Yes.
Just wondering about Dropbox. I know I've had it on my iPhone, I never used it, and then I've just downloaded it to my computer because my board at the Beckett Arts Center wants to start and use it, for sharing files. And as the secretary, I probably should use it, but I downloaded it onto my MacBook Pro yesterday, and I put in my not personal file name in there, username and password, and I'm having all kinds of problems. It wants me, whenever I turn my computer on, it wants me to go to preferences and do something with accessibility, it says, and it's there at the top of the menu, and I can't access the file that the administrative office sent me, because when I click on it, it wants a different username and password, my personal,
I had
professional.
the same problem.
I don't know, it's like, I'm sort of wishing I hadn't ever done this, but
You have to log out of your personal and log into the other one.
and I don't have two separate ones, but I can do two separate usernames and passwords.
But you have to log out and log in.
Yeah, I kind of
Each
wish
time.
I'd never done it, but I gotta get up to date, especially if I'm the secretary.
Well,
Okay.
maybe they could use Google Drive or something. Yes.
In the beginning of you were talking about a 5-year span for a computer before you can accept a new update. It's probably the age. I have a desktop. I can't remember it. I think it's 2011. Do desktops also do I have to get a new desktop to be able to do the same thing?
I would say yes.
Yes. And I have one other question. I used to go back and forth, and I'm using the desktop. I bought a MacBook Pro because I won't be driving my car back and forth, so to bring the computer back. And I thought it would be easier, but the font on that is so small, it doesn't allow you to do above 12, and my eyes are going crazy. So I went back to the desktop.
What font? Are you talking about like on the
writing, on my emails, everything was, I couldn't get above 12 on the MacBook Pro. And,
Wait a minute. On your MacBook Pro, you want larger print?
Yes,
On your emails?
yes, and overall, but especially emails.
Well, you can set that.
I
Show
tried,
it?
and they said it wouldn't let me do over 12.
I think we can.
Are you using MacMail? Are you using MacMail?
No.
What are you using?
Gmail?
The magnification feature doesn't work everywhere.
Show her Zoom so that you can expand the screen.
The other question is, why aren't you having your Gmail in MacMail? Why are you using the Gmail app? Do you know?
You just lost me.
Because, okay, it's
That's
much,
above my pay grade, you know,
the
when I-
Gmail app, to me, is not as easy to use as the Mac. The MacMail is the stamp on your phone and your iPad, right? There's a stamp. And you can put Gmail into your MacMail. You can do the settings. There's no ads or anything in there. Do you have Gmail? Well, just use MacMail.
MacMail is the mail that came on, yeah, I'm using MacMail.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can make the font bigger.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Is it show fonts? Or is it preferences? Okay, here's the fonts. So like if I make it 18, I don't know, but there's a way to do it. The list is very small here.
Oh, I can make what I
Oh.
can make out 18, but what was coming in, I couldn't change.
Okay.
I think Jerry's idea is good to show her how to enlarge the screen in certain sections.
I do Control
Mine
Plus.
you can do bigger.
Control Plus.
Say bigger.
It makes it bigger, like that.
Yeah,
Command Plus, sorry, Command Plus.
Yeah, Command Plus.
Yeah, and then Command Minus brings it back down.
Yeah. And the other thing is occasionally you want to enlarge everything on the screen because what we just showed here is selective. It's the document you're looking at. But if you want to enlarge everything on the screen, you can do that too by hitting Option plus Command Option.
We have to get out of here.
It doesn't like me.
I know, so I don't know.
Doesn't like that.
I don't use it.
On the
that-
desk, are you talking about the icons on the desktop also?
Well, I went back to the desktop.
Because you can also go to preferences of Finder, and you can make the font bigger under the icons.
Also, in system preferences, accessibility,
Right.
and there you can control, control the whole structure of your system to zoom preferably to magnify.
And Zoom is,
Accessibility, I'll write down that.
Zoom is command plus.
Zoom, that's.
Command plus on a certain email, yeah.
That accessibility preference is very handy. I suggest that it's worth becoming familiar with it, for the little tricks it can do.
You ready for another question?
Yep.
One of the initial things on the screen was how to retrieve a deleted text message, I think. There's something with how to...
Yes, you had to get a special program for that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it does, you can't phone paw, F-O-N-E, this one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Recover deleted messages.
It's deleted text messages?
Yes,
You do.
iMessage.
There's 3 or 4 apps about that.
Yeah. Have you wanted to do that? Have you wanted to get them back?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the way it happens with me, I have the phone, iPad, and the Mac. If I delete them on one, they do not delete everywhere else, because I'm using Google. So I'm saved, I guess, if I wanted to get one back. I was told that in iCloud, maybe they are all deleted. Are you using iCloud messages? No? Well, then they shouldn't be, they should still be in the other 2 places.
I'm using iCloud. I don't know if I've got messages.
So when you delete one, is it still on the other 2?
I haven't checked it out.
Okay.
Every once in a while I delete something, oh darn it, I want to put it, picture or something.
They should, the messages in my case are still there, so I'm waiting for Apple to fix that.
Command Z, if you delete it,
On an iMessage, I don't know.
you have to recover it.
Yeah, that should work.
I don't know. Let's see.
Marsha,
Yeah,
would messages, maybe Jerry could answer this, would messages be one of the things backed up by Time Machine? In other words, could she go to a previous date in Time Machine and retrieve messages?
I've checked that, and Time Machine is not copying the messages.
Okay, got it.
Now, in mail, if you're in mail and you're in a mailbox, you can go back into Time Machine and see what was in that mailbox in the past.
yes.
Marsha,
Yeah.
I was Googling it when I first came in. I didn't have time to read it all, but it said that the messages can be, they are in iCloud. However, I think the only way you can get them out of iCloud is to restore your device from iCloud, and I don't know if you want to do that.
My messages are Google. They are not, I don't use iCloud for my messages.
No, but I was saying,
Oh,
if you're using iCloud, they say the messages are there,
okay.
but I don't know how you get them out of iCloud other than restoring everything from iCloud, and I wouldn't want to be doing that.
Right.
Unless I had to.
I would check your other 2 devices. They might still be there.
It shouldn't. iCloud would work, if you're syncing through iCloud, if you destroy one,
Yeah.
then it's supposed to be gone on all.
I know. Have you tried that? Have you tested that to see if that actually?
Whenever I look on 2 or 3 things that I use message for, if I delete a message,
They're gone.
if I delete a conversation, it's gone from all my devices. Now, it's the person I'm messaging with, they still have their copy of it. But my copies are gone.
Okay. Well, mine aren't. Okay. Any other?
Just a quick question about iMessages. How, they're in chronological order on my iPhone, but on my laptop, they're not, and I tried
I
viewing
looked
them
at
in
that.
different...
I didn't see any way to switch that. I mean, what order are they in?
Random, it seems. I mean, it's under one person's name and the messages I've gotten from them, and then I'll get, a notice that I've received a new message from so-and-so, and I look in the messages under that person's name, like my nephew, and it's like,
Sort by, you can't really sort in messages. I wonder if you...
yeah, well, that was the thing, because I tried viewing in terms of conversation, but it said sort conversation by time, but it didn't do it within one person's messages. I don't know.
I think we have to end the meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.